What happens when the greatest wrestling rivalries aren't just for the cameras? Imagine a world where the animosity you saw on the screen was absolutely terrifyingly real. Today on Sleeper Sports Media, we're diving deep into the true stories of legendary wrestling feuds that spilled out of the ring and into chaotic reality, blurring the lines between sport and genuine hatred. And you thought pro wrestling was all scripted. Think again. For decades, professional wrestling has presented a captivating illusion, but some of the most iconic feuds were fueled by genuine bitterness and explosive personal animosity. Prepare to uncover the shocking truth behind the legendary rivalries that went far beyond kayfabe and into the realm of real life conflict. Picture this: two titans locked in an epic struggle, their disdain for each other palpable. But what if that wasn't just a storyline? What if the punches were real, the hatred unscripted, and the consequences devastatingly human? Join us today as we pull back the curtain on the most intense wrestling feuds that weren't just for the show, exploring the raw, unfiltered emotions that made them truly unforgettable. Rivalry number one. This one hits deep and at home, as I am a Bret Hart fan through marriage. Bret Hart was set up to leave WWF at the time for WCW, but there was a massive disagreement over how his championship reign would end. Hart, a Canadian hero, refused to lose the title and drop the belt in his home country. And Vince McMahon, fearing Hart would show up on WCW's competing show with the WWF Championship, decided to take matters into his own hands during the match. And thus the Montreal Screwjob was born. Breaking down the plan for the Screwjob, the plan was for Shawn Michaels to submit to the sharpshooter, Hart's signature move. However, as the move was applied, McMahon ordered the timekeeper to ring the bell, and referee Earl Hebner immediately called for the match to end, declaring Michaels the winner. Now, how could he do this, you might ask? The aftermath led to an enraged Bret Hart spat and spitting directly into McMahon's face and storming out of the arena, leaving a bewildered and furious crowd. Michaels and McMahon quickly exited, leaving Hart to face the fallout alone. The shocking incident ignited a real-life rivalry between Hart and Michaels that lasted for many years, forever changing the landscape of professional wrestling. So Bret Hart, in one of the most iconic real-life hatred-fueled feuds out there, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, and of course we know he's involved in other ones as well. Number two on this list is Scott Steiner and Diamond Dallas Page and their backstage brawl. This feud was not just about wrestling news, it was deeply personal. Began with Scott Steiner allegedly verbally harassing and making advances towards Kimberly Page, DDP's wife, stemming from a rumor that Kimberly had reported drug-related activities to WCW management at the time, which Steiner viewed as a betrayal of the locker room's unwritten code. The tension exploded when Steiner went off script during a live interview, launching a vicious verbal attack on DDP and Kimberly. And DDP saw this as a profound act of disrespect that simply couldn't be ignored, and thus we had a DDP confronting Steiner backstage immediately after the promo, and that started a heated verbal argument back and forth, spiraling into a full-blown physical fight. For shoot, brother. For shoot. Even an attempted eye-gouge reportedly from the scene stated that during the brutal brawl, Steiner allegedly tried to gouge DDP's eyes out. Security intervened just in time, pulling them apart. And now despite the shocking violence that went down at that night, DDP and Steiner eventually patched things up and got to at least a cordial level point, and eventually did work together in WCW after the incident. So unlike Bret Hart, unlike Shawn Michaels, and unlike Goldberg, these two put it to rest and that was that. And the final one on this list, CM Punk and Colt Cabana and the Elite, the modern day mayhem, or my personal favorite, Brawl Out 2022. This was, while we didn't know it was happening in the moment, this feud has gone back and goes back to 2014 when CM Punk made his exit from WWE and dropped the pipe bomb. And opened up and talked about Colt Cabana's Art of Wrestling podcast. A WWE doctor sued both Punk and Cabana for defamation. While they won the lawsuit, a subsequent lawsuit was filed by Cabana against Punk for legal fees, fracturing their friendship beyond repair, which Punk would later talk about in Brawl Out and the press conference. AEW and the Elite. When Punk joined AEW, rumors were swirling about his alleged involvement in moving Cabana to the secondary Ring of Honor promotion right after Tony Khan purchased that. Previous incidents with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, collectively known as the Elite, also did not help those rumors, as we saw what went down at Brawl Out, and then eventually the next year at All In, and everything that led to Punk's eventual exit from AEW and from the company. In 2022, during an AEW show, Punk delivered a controversial promo claiming that he stood up for workers' rights as once and he would do it again, and that drew the line. Everyone thought and knew that was a jab at the Cabana situation. The animosity then reached its boiling point again at the All Out event in September of 2022, following a heated press conference, aka Brawl Out. A massive physical altercation allegedly erupted backstage. Punk in a steel against the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. Larry was probably involved, let's just be honest. And Tony Khan was, of course, fearing for his life. This led to Punk's departure a year later in 2023. A Steel was also let go. And now, since then, Punk has come back to WWE, has been very good in not making comments towards AEW. In a public interview with Ariel Helwani, Punk denied all involvement in Cabana's current situation, stated unequivocally that he had no desire to be friends with him ever again. That interview on Ariel Helwani was a great interview, and this has been a great round out list of the three biggest feuds in wrestling history that have spilled outside the ring and into the real world. For shoot, brother. For Sleeper Sports Media, I'm Nick Wietosh, and here we go.